Hello everyone, and today we are back for another Loomian Legacy Top 5 video, and we're going to be ranking all of the starters from worst to best. The last time I've ranked the Loomian Legacy starters was in late 2022, so let's make an updated list. Some of these Loomians have gotten better, while some of them have gotten worse. So with that out of the way, let's head right onto this list. So, the worst starter in all of Loomian Legacy is Valkyrie. This was really close, and honestly, 5 through 7 could be switched around, and numbers 1 through 4 could be switched around. Valkyrie is pretty good. The thing is, it actually walls a lot of the banger Loomians. It walls Dragodyne unless it has X-Storm. Like, it can wall Booch Dragodyne. It can wall Tyranics. It can wall actually a lot of very dangerous Loomians, while also hitting extremely hard. This is a ranged wall breaker that hits really hard, which is awesome. It also has Rejuvenate. But the biggest thing that really holds Valkyrie back, and the reason why it is number 7 onto this list, it's mainly its offensive typing. Light Metal is just not a very good offensive typing, and even with air coverage, it doesn't help it that much. Pretty much any fire type can wall Valkyrie, and even if they're weak to air, a lot of Loomians can outspeed Valkyrie. That doesn't mean that Valkyrie can't be scary, because it hits extremely hard, and it can break through a lot of Loomians. Like, even resistant hits can do a lot of damage with a Valkyrie, and the fact that it has a healing move and pivot makes it pretty good, but I think it's just barely the worst compared to the number 6 Loomian on this list. But yeah, Valkyrie is still pretty good. Number 6 onto this list is going to be Heber, and this is probably the last place spot for most people's list, but the reason why I didn't put Heber in the last place spot is because of its bulk. It can live pretty much any hit in the entire game. It has an amazing health stat, an amazing melee defense stat, and a pretty solid range defense stat. Meaning that this Loomian can pretty much live any hit in all of Loomian Legacy. That doesn't even mention that it has Earth Ice Stab, probably one of the best offensive typings in all of Loomian Legacy. This thing also has priority, Icicle Traps, and just recently it also got Burn Up, meaning you could, not Burn Up, bulk up, so you can increase its melee bulk even more. This Loomian has always been very solid, but it's always been one of those Loomians that will always get 1 or 2 KOs and are always threatening, but it will never do much more than that. It's still a very scary Loomian, but when we compare it to all the other starters, that's where Heber kind of falls. Not to mention that a lot of the other starters can actually hit Heber super effectively now. This thing used to be a good wall for Zulong, but ever since Zulong got Fire Breath, Zulong can easily two-shot a Heber, so you can't really use this as a wall anymore, and that's the reason why it is number 6 and not higher on the list. But despite that, Heber is really dangerous. Number 5 onto this list is going to be Siite. The thing I love about Siite is the different movesets it can have. You could run a Drudge set, you could run a Terrifying Barb set, a Terrifying Raging Flame set, you could run an Armor Down set, and there's a lot of different moves you could run on the Siite. You could run Body Crash to utilize its high melee defense, you could run Slap Down to get rid of items, you could run Boiling Press to hit water types, Stirring Steel, which can actually hit water types neutrally, which is still pretty good, and it has the Terrifying ability, which is really good when stunning other melee attackers. Now, it is counterproductive with Body Crash because it doesn't really boost your melee defense, so it doesn't boost your Body Crash damage, but despite that, it's still very good. This Loomian also has barbs, meaning that you can place barbs down, and it's probably one of the best Loomians with barbs because it's extremely bulky. It's probably the best barbs Loomian that's really bulky, which is amazing. The biggest reason why Siite isn't any higher is because while Siite is good at everything, it doesn't really excel at anything. It doesn't have a role where it can excel in. It's pretty much great at everything, but it's not amazing at everything. And that's why Siite is only number 5, but this thing is awesome. And its questionable defensive typing also keeps it at 5. Number 4 to this list is going to be Zulong. Yes, Zulong is above Siite, but I have my reasonings. Fire Breath. Fire Breath saved Zulong. Zulong has so much to it. It's probably one of the best leads. It's a really good late game cleaner. It has Pivot with Ancient Roar and Zip Zap. With Elemental Burst can cause status conditions. And of course, the star of the show, Fire Breath. you can hit those pesky metal and plant types super effectively. You can one-shot a Tatb, you can two-shot a Tyrex, you can two-shot a Heber. You can hit a lot of those walls that you couldn't really hit before. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't walls for Zulong still. Terraclaw is still very threatening. There's still Centimars, there's still Venolin. Like, there's still overall a lot of Lumians that can soak your hits. Soulburst Gastroke is also pretty good against you as well. But, other than that, Zulong is just pretty good for the general game. And for casual playing, this is probably the best Lumian to use for casual gaming. Because, you know, a lot of the casual people just run Lumians with the most damage. And that's why this Lumian is used a lot, because it does so much pure damage and it's really fast. But when it comes to the competitive metagame, it's still pretty good, but not as good as the top 3 starters on this list. Number 3 onto this list is going to be Desperat. Desperat has gotten some additions as of late. Has gotten Slash, it's gotten Harrow, and it's gotten some other moves as well that made it even better. The thing that makes Desperat so good is its ability to hit extremely hard. That's basically Desperat in a nutshell. Has a very solid speed stat for a wall breaker, and it has slapdown utility. But since it hits so hard, your slapdown does a lot of damage. Now, you gotta remember, slapdown is gonna get nerfed in the future, so that is gonna nerf Desperat a little bit. But even if that's the case, its new move, Harrow, is amazing for Desperat. You can poison the opposing Lumians. It's a stab move that's a lot more powerful than Phantom Slash, and it doesn't have a chance to miss. It also gets boosted by Sharp Claws, which is even better. And that doesn't even mention the fact that it has Slash to hit to clips and Cephalops, while also having Revival to heal its health back. This thing even has Shadow Sprint, which is awesome. Any Lumian with priority that hits this hard definitely deserves to be pretty high on the list. The biggest reason it's not higher is because, again, it doesn't really have good bulk, and it does have a questionable defensive typing, but that kind of doesn't matter for a fast, hard-hitting wall breaker. Number 2 onto this list is going to be Luminami. Luminami has always been one of the best starters in all of Lumian Legacy, and it ranks top 3 on this list yet again. Power Napper, Pivot. Yep, everyone knows how OP Luminami is with that. You have Power Napper, you could swap out, and you get free HP back. That is insane. The fact that you could swap out and get free HP back makes this thing extremely overpowered. It also has really good coverage moves as well. And while it doesn't hit that hard, it probably is the Lumian that hits the least compared to all the starters. But it makes it up with its coverage. It has Dark and Light. Awesome offensive typing. It has Water Ice as well, with Thunder Chomp as a coverage move. You can even run Radiant Rush if you want to run a melee Luminami if you really want to. But, of course, the star of the show here is Flash and Flee. You click the move Flash and Flee, you deal damage, and you swap out to gain HP back. That's what makes Luminami extremely overpowered, and it makes it one of the best bridge Lumians in all of Lumian Legacy. This Lumian is awesome, there are barely any flaws with it, and that's why it's ranked number 2 on the list, but there's only one starter that's a little bit better. The best starter in all of Lumian Legacy is Tatb, and this one's not really close. Luminami is close, but not that close. This thing is a Lumian with 105 speed and 126 melee attack with the Awakening ability. This thing hits really hard. It also has barter, meaning that you can actually barter specialty boots to tanks, messing them up for later in the fight. You have Toxic Tail for coverage, and that doesn't even mention its main stab moves. 120 stab Timber Thrash. That nukes. And Jungle Jitsu also has a chance to crit. With those 2 stab moves, you could destroy pretty much any Lumian in the entire game besides Toxic types. Mainly because Toxic types resist both of your stabs, but oh wait! Most Toxic types don't have high melee defense, so you 2-shot most of them regardless. The only Toxic types that can live hits decently are, I think, Swolder and Venolin, and that's if you run melee defense. Helvantic can as well. But wait! There's more. You also have Splitting Headache, and while this will never usually run it, the fact that it can run Splitting Headache to hit those Toxic types super effectively definitely puts Tatb over the top. By far, the best starter in all of Lumian Legacy. And here it is, Tatb, the best starter in all of Loomian Legacy. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. If y'all agreed to my list or disagree with my list, please tell me in the comments below, because these starters are really hard to rank because all of them are honestly really good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!